I'm using 100% whole wheat pie shell. I'm doing this not just because of the nutrition benefits, which are very important, but because it adds a much richer flavor to the dish. I've done it both ways, and it's just really too bland if you use a refined grain pie shell. So we're going to put it in the oven according to the instructions on the package. Now that the mushrooms have cooked down and are getting nice brown, I'm going to cook the garlic. I've moved the mushrooms just to the side of the pan, and so I can do the garlic in the middle. Just need a tad bit of olive oil, not much at all. And I'll put the garlic. You want to be careful with the garlic. It only needs a couple minutes to cook on a low temperature. It browns very easily. So now we mix the garlic and mushrooms together, and we're going to season them with a little bit of salt and pepper. Now add the ground beef. Make sure you break it up and cook it until it's nice and brown. Now that we've browned the ground beef, we're going to add back in the vegetables. And put in some tomato paste. Now add a few tablespoons of flour. The flour is going to mix with the fat in the dish and help create the base for the gravy. So mix that in really well. Now would also be a good time to add a little bit more pepper. After mixing in the flour and tomato paste, we're going to use a little bit of red wine to help deglaze the pan. That means we're going to get to mix in all the stuff that's stuck to the sides and bottom so that we have all the flavor in there. And then add in some beef stock. The beef stock with that flour is just going to make a really great gravy for the pie. Then cook the meat until the sauce begins to thicken. Now we have a nice gravy here, you can see. If you want more gravy, just add more flour and more beef stock. We have our pie crust that we pre-baked earlier, and we're going to add in the filling. Fill it to just below the top, and you probably have some leftovers, but that's good. You can eat it by itself too. And we're going to put some egg around the rim of the pie to stick a pie crust on top. This is just a puff pastry sheet that I bought at the supermarket. Of course, you can make your own too. Just stretch it over the top and press it down onto that egg. Now we cut off the excess. This can also be done with phyllo dough, which is a bit of a lighter alternative, but you have to do more layers. Now you can make a design in the top if you like, or just put a little X so that the steam can escape. And finish with a coat of egg. This will help it puff up nice and be beautiful and brown. And your pie is ready to go in the oven. When your stock has about 15 minutes to cook is the time to add parsley. adding it at this point instead of earlier will make sure that it has a nice fresh flavor. So just add it in and cook it for another 15 minutes. Our beef stock is now finished cooking and it's time to strain it. So first we're going to take out all the big chunks, then we're going to strain it in a colander and then strain it again in a fine mesh sieve lined with cheesecloth. So here we go. Okay, now that we have all the big chunks out of the stock, we're going to use this colander to put the stock into the bowl. Then simply lift the colander out. You can set that back in your stock pot. And we're almost done. Just one more straining to go. For the next step, we'll take another bowl with the fine mesh sieve and put 2 layers of cheesecloth on top. We'll just ladle the stock into the next bowl. You might have to do this in a couple of steps. Now gather up the cheesecloth and remove the sieve. What we have now is a nice clear broth. It still has a lot of fat in it, so I'm going to leave it in the refrigerator until it cools off. Then the fat will be really easy just to pull right off because the fat will solidify on the top. More than likely, you're not going to be eating all of this stock in one sitting. So what I recommend you do is portion it out into 2-cup or 3-cup servings and stick it in the freezer. The best way I've found to do this is to use a small plastic container and a freezer bag. Make sure that it says freezer bag on it because the other bags will get brittle in the freezer. So put the freezer bag into the plastic. Measure out like a cup at a time and pour it in your bag. Then you can seal up your bag and stick this in the freezer. If you're short on these plastic containers, you can freeze this until it's a solid block and then remove the plastic bag and just keep these plastic bags in the freezer. Then your stock is always ready to go. It's time to take our meat pie out of the oven. It smells delicious. Look at the nice golden crust. Let's just cut it up and have a piece. I can't wait to taste this meat pie. That is excellent. Remember that you can go to our website, buildingblocksshow.com, for this meat pie recipe and other recipes for beef stock. That's all for our show today. Remember to make all your cooking an adventure.